Take a look at this graph, comparing peak-driven performance to long-term stability. Notice how the top line is completely erratic. Hustle culture demands we operate at extreme highs, but brief spikes in output are almost always followed by a total energy collapse. This diagram illustrates what happens when we rely on a single-factor model, an approach reducing success to just one variable, like raw motivation. Relying on isolated traits creates a fragile structure. If one component drops out, the entire system collapses. Raw, unguided energy behaves a lot like an uncontained bonfire. It burns incredibly bright, runs hot enough to feel productive in the moment, and eventually scorches everything in its immediate environment before burning itself out. Real endurance requires an engineered solution. Think of it like a barbecue. You need the flame to provide the heat, the brace to physically contain and direct that heat, and the grill to convert it into a tangible result. We are going to break down exactly how these mechanical parts interact. We will look at why motivation acts as the volatile flame, and how discipline served as the structural brace to actually capture that energy. When we treat progress as a controlled, mechanical process rather than a fleeting emotional state, success stops being a matter of luck. It becomes a matter of precise design. This chart shows the relationship between available energy and starting friction. Motivation is simply activation energy, the biological capacity required to overcome friction. Notice how that capacity waves up and down, dictated by sleep and nutrition. It does not respond to willpower. Here is a timeline tracking motivational charge across days, weeks, and months. The line inevitably drops as novelty wears off and cognitive load accumulates. Enthusiasm is a highly unreliable fuel. If your daily routine expects that line to stay high forever, it will break. People often misinterpret these natural, biological dips in energy as a personal failure, when in reality, they just failed to anticipate the drop. This diagram illustrates pushing intensity without boundaries. Effort scatters across multiple incomplete tasks, building up cognitive residue. This lingering mental burden from unfinished work slows down decision-making. Eventually, the mind forces recovery through total exhaustion. Motivation has to be managed. Overdrawing your energy reserves today to get a quick burst of output directly steals from your capacity to work tomorrow. If motivation is the fire, discipline is the metal containing it. Discipline isn't a force used to push you forward. It's a constraint designed to prevent you from drifting off course. This graphic shows discipline as sheer force, pushing a heavy boulder upward, draining energy through constant internal negotiation until the effort scatters. Now look at the constraint model. By predefining your response, you bypass emotional roadblocks. The path is set, saving energy for execution. This flowchart breaks down the 3 core mechanisms of that constraint. Rules protect your boundaries. Routines define the sequence of your actions to protect your momentum. And fixed standards define exactly when a task is complete so you don't overwork. Here is how that structure behaves when motivation disappears. By removing the need to make decisions, these preset rules trigger your core actions automatically, carrying your behavior through periods where your internal drive is completely empty. This structure doesn't exist to inspire you. It exists to hold the walls up and keep the machine running when the fire inevitably burns low. Take a look at this comparison. Effort is subjective, easily distorted by how tired we feel. Output is external and measurable. Evaluating success purely by strain encourages overextension, draining your capacity and creating a vicious burnout loop that masquerades as dedication. This chart highlights bounded variance. Bounded variance is a state where performance fluctuations stay within tight, controlled limits. A mature system produces moderate, highly repeatable results, absorbing external shocks without missing a beat. That tight variance acts as a strict gate. If your daily execution is still volatile and dependent on your mood, attempting to scale up your ambitions will only multiply your points of failure. When progress stalls, stop treating it as a lapse in your character. If the output stops, there is a friction point in your design. Instead, fix the system, not the person. By building rigid structures to contain our energy, we strip the exhausting drama out of our work. Progress stops relying on heroic interventions and quietly becomes a predictable science.